The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Whether she's walking the red carpet or doing interviews, you'll find her with celebrities and all the latest news. She's here, she's there, she's everywhere, she's always on the go. So sit back, relax, and get ready, 'cause it's the Corey Taylor Talks Show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks, live from Las Vegas, the #1 teen talk show. So, I have an amazing guest with me, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do, because it's really interesting, and honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know much about what a doula was and stuff, so why don't you tell people a little bit about what you do, and you do like a million other things as well. I do. Alright,
so hi, I'm Kaleigh Mancha, also based out of Las Vegas. I have a couple different things going on, as you mentioned. I recently, as soon as the past 2 months, started my own businesses. I have two. Private practice for mental health. I'm a mental health therapist. And then I also started a doula business. Of course, not many people that I talk to know what a doula is.
Right.
So we can definitely elaborate on that. And I also teach yoga. I do corporate events, but then I do private sessions, yoga in the park type stuff. So I have a couple different things going on, for sure.
Yeah, so why don't we go into what a doula actually is, though? Because that is I once researching, it's a very cool thing, but honestly, it's really an awesome thing. So why don't we talk about a little bit about what that is exactly?
Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not very commonly heard, right? And so the people that do know what a doula is automatically associate that with hippy-dippy stuff, home births, and that's great, and that's amazing. But there's so much more to it. So I'm what they call a labor, postpartum, and loss doula. So a labor doula is somebody who's trained, certified to provide assistance, usually throughout the last trimester, then during labor and delivery, all the exciting stuff.
Right.
And then postpartum is within typically the first 3 months after the baby is born. And that involves emotional support, educational support. So I actually work with a lot of young parents, so ranging in age usually from 17 to early 20s. I have had older clients, but for some reason, gravitating towards me are younger clients.
I think maybe because like they're more open and stuff and understanding
Definitely.
of different things. I think maybe that's why.
Yeah, and the internet, right? So people Google, what do you need when you're pregnant? And, doula comes up, and I think we have a very woke and conscious generation of early 20-year-olds and teens now who want to take charge of their health care. They want to take charge of the decisions they're going to remember for the rest of their life. And
yeah.
Well,
I haven't been pregnant. I haven't given birth or anything, but I can imagine how much of a stressful time that has to be. It's amazing and it's beautiful, but it has to be. So to have someone there to support you, especially afterwards too, postpartum, that's a really, really cool thing, because I think there's so much pressure put on parents and stuff, and there's not a guy well, I guess there's technically, but no one really can explain what it's like to actually be a parent. So for you to be there and help support them through it and go step by step in each individual case, that's a really, really cool thing.
Yeah, and I think even in regards to whether we're talking about mental health, Doula Services, or even yoga, we don't get to see people living well often. We don't get to see things natural that happen to our bodies. Everything is kind of behind doors. It's secret. We do things, on our own. We're meant to be strong, tough, in this case, women. And so it's really nice to normalize that and say, this is natural, this happens, I'm here for you, and to give people control of their bodies and their minds.
Awesome. And then let's talk a little bit about therapy too. And I recently just met a couple of the cast members of I don't know if you're familiar with it, the 13 Reasons Why.
Oh yeah,
Did you watch it?
Yeah, how awesome!
I love that. I really want to elaborate on that because first of all, I thought it was a very powerful and amazing show, and I think it's something that we really truly needed. But I know there was a lot of backlash as well, because like they showed the suicide and how graphic it was and stuff.
Right.
I thought that was important, but people were saying like it was glorifying it. So what are like some of your thoughts on that? Because it's a very delicate situation for sure.
Absolutely, and I think there definitely needs to be sensitivity when we talk about such heavy topics.
Right.
And if we look at the rate of suicide, you know, we talk about, you know, a certain amount of people are killing themselves each day, you know, so many per second. And so it is valuable when we have people or, you know, companies like Netflix releasing these kind of shows that say, hey, this is a struggle that, you know, most of us or some of us will encounter, whether that's bullying or depression, and for some people, suicidal ideations.
Yeah.
So I think bringing light to those topics is really important, because again, that stigma really reduces people's abilities to heal. There's a lot of shame in it. I do understand some of the conversations about the glorifying it, especially for younger audiences.
Right.
But again, if you're a parent letting your child watch these shows, this is the time to have those conversations.
Yeah.
To have honest conversations about the support that you're willing to provide your child, the type of resources that you have in your community, maybe asking your child to step up. If another student is being bullied, let's prevent it before we even get to that part. So I'm just excited that mental health is being brought to a new audience, especially a younger generation.
And I also think I was very lucky because my mom was always there for me, and she was there step by step for me. But a lot of parents, they might not understand how difficult, and I really think it helped open the conversation with that. And it was meant for teenagers and stuff. I really think like a whole wide audience watched it. And really, I thought it was super powerful myself. So
absolutely, and you know, sometimes I firmly believe that all parents do the best they can.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we just don't have the tools to help guide those conversations. And like you said, you know, it came out, and so here it is. Now what do we do with it?
Right.
And so it gave some opportunities to have those conversations, and even within schools as well. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to bring it up because it's something I've been wanting to talk about, and I was like, oh, yeah, perfect.
Here you go.
You can't get any better. But yeah, so that's really cool. And you also were talking about yoga and stuff that you do.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie. I tried yoga a couple times, and I really did love it. I never fully stayed into it. I did classes and so I don't really. It's very calming, and it's amazing, like how you feel and stuff. But I never completely got into it. And so, but what you're doing is really cool. So why don't you talk about body positive yoga and stuff that you do?
So I am curvier, and I am very bottom heavy. And when I first got into yoga, mind you, I grew up on the east side of Vegas. There wasn't a lot of talk about wellness. It was, you know, you're going to go to college, have a great life.
Right.
And so when I got into yoga, I was actually pregnant, and I thought to myself, oh, well, you know, I heard this is great. Let's try it out.
Right.
But I did it in the privacy of my own home, and it was kind of just what I did to help me with labor.
Yeah.
After my daughter was born, I let it go, and then I'd gained a lot of weight in grad school and was determined to get back in shape, and signed up for a half marathon, and I couldn't even run 30 seconds. I was like, how am I going to do this? And I remembered, you know, yoga is so great for breathing. Let me get back into it.
Right.
And when I was going to classes and going to yoga studios, everybody was Caucasian and thin and blonde and Lululemon pants.
Right.
And here I am, like, no, I can't get into that pose because my chest is large.
Right, yeah. No.
And can you see my underwear and my yoga pants because my butt's big?
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like yoga became a spiritual practice for me. It really became a part of who I was. And I'm all about bringing wellness to people that might not have experienced it, people like myself who had no idea about it. So body positive yoga is a movement that I'm really excited about, which means that yoga is accessible for anyone. Yoga for all, hashtag, right? And the way that I teach my classes is I presume that nobody in there has ever done yoga before. I do get a lot of beginners.
Oh, yeah.
And throughout the poses and the asanas, as they're called, I provide modifications. And modifications aren't because you can't do the full expression of the pose. It's because you know, some days I can touch my toes and put my feet behind my head, and some days my back hurts and I can't.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so it's all about honoring where we're at, but honoring the space our body takes up. So modifications are incorporated into my class as regular practice, props, straps, whatever helps you get into a mindful space. So body positive yoga embraces being present in our bodies, honoring our bodies, not having shame in yoga classes, because I don't know if you've been to any yoga classes. Where,
yeah. That's what I was going to say. That's what really, it was off-putting, because there are all these beautiful size 0, size 2, and that's amazing, and God bless them, but it was just like, I felt like, oh, I don't really belong here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be moving that way in front of those people. And so I think that is cool, where it is more accepting, and like, and not that yoga isn't, I'm not saying, but like it's purposely meant, like everyone is welcome here, and every type of body, right, everything. So that's a really, really cool thing. And,
you know, abilities as well.
Yeah.
So I take on private clients, and I've had people say, you know, I have these injuries, so I don't, my body isn't able to do that. Or for people who have maybe reservations, in my class I breathe really heavy, and I joke, because yoga is supposed to be fun. As much as its origins are in a spiritual practice, the only way that we can fully embrace our life is if we take it in a fun, light way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I breathe heavy because sometimes a plank makes me pant, you know, so that's okay. So yeah, it's just really exciting to give that space to people. Yeah,
that's really cool. And so, like, how did you actually get involved with, because, like, you do so much stuff, so how did you actually get involved with it? Like I couldn't even begin to imagine how to become a doula and stuff, and becoming a therapist. I mean, that's a lot of schooling and a lot of work.
It is.
So how did you get involved with it?
Yeah, so like I said, you know, growing up, they were just like, you're going to go to college and have a good life.
Right.
I'm the first in my family, actually, to go to college, and that was really scary. I always knew that I wanted to be a helper. At first, I thought that was a teacher, because, you know, those are the only professions. You can be a teacher, a police officer, a firefighter, right? And then I heard about therapists, and I said, okay, psychology. And in undergrad, I studied art and ethnic studies, and I really, really loved creative elements to healing. So I got pregnant my last semester of undergrad, and that's how I got into birth and yoga. And then I thought, okay, that's not a real job. You know, I'm thinking 9 to 5 is my life. That's the way I've always seen it done. Went to grad school for 2 years, became a therapist, and I did doula work on the side as a hobby. And yoga came along probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, I love it so much, I have to get certified. I want to do this. And again, it was just a hobby. So it wasn't until this year that I decided, let's do this. I can do this. I can be an entrepreneur, even if I don't know people. And Vegas is my community, and I'm so surprised and so grateful that the universe has brought me so many opportunities. And for example, with therapy, I recently was endorsed by the Nevada Maternal and Child Mental Health Coalition, Postpartum Support International, St. Rose Hospitals, Dignity Health, and I have the only postpartum support group in town, which is just crazy.
Really?
Yes.
Really interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I wanted to bring up too, because I never, like I said, I'm not a parent, so I don't really understand. But after, like, there, like you said, there's been a lot of videos and stuff of people, like, bringing to light, like, all the struggles and stuff. But I never realized, like, the postpartum stuff, like, how there wasn't any support, and that's even more important, kind of, than the pregnancy, because now you're actually taking care of a physical human being that you
and yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, they were saying, like, how women don't get off of work and stuff, and like, there's no type of medical or insurance, and like, there's a lot of different things that are horrible, and it's so shocking to me and depressing. So, like, what are your thoughts with that and stuff? Because, I mean, I think that is such an important thing that should be kind of a requirement almost to take care of a new baby. And a lot of other countries do have it.
Yes.
So, what are your thoughts and feelings with that stuff? Because it kind of blew my mind after researching it a little bit.
Absolutely. And I thoroughly agree with you on that. I definitely am involved in a lot of advocacy, especially around grants. I'm right now working with Help with Southern Nevada to see if we can write a grant to work with teen moms. I'm really passionate about working with teens.
Oh, yeah.
But in general, so I came here and I'm like, these are my passions. Let's see if this works. I'm invested. And when I got here and found out there are no support groups here at all around this,
that's ridiculous.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
So I said, of course I'm going to do it. And I talked to a couple therapists, and while most therapists will work with, like, say, loss or postpartum, there's nobody specializing in it. And I'm like, okay, I got this. This is my background. And so I'm just really excited because I'm collaborating with a lot of people. There's some amazing people, my Good Vibe tribe here. Some people work at UNLV. I used to work there. I graduated from there, who are doing amazing work at the Women's Center. I know some other marriage and family therapists in town. Just in general, I'm building this community and collaborating in ways so that I hope in the next year, if not next few years, there will be a strong network of support for birthing persons in general.
Yeah.
Because postpartum extends to dads too, and we don't even talk about that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's just mind-boggling to me that all these other countries and stuff are exceeding, and they're what's it called, SIDS and stuff, like it's down like completely and stuff, and like here we like have one of like the highest rates or something like that, and it's because we're not helping these mothers, and it's really a sad thing. So that's awesome that you are doing this and that you made a support group and you're trying to build this, because it's a thing we need in America. Never mind Las Vegas, we need in America, you know? So that's a really cool thing that you're starting it, and I'm impressed. I didn't know like all that stuff about, that's really, really awesome. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, and as you're speaking about other countries, my sister-in-law is from England, and I have a nephew. He's adorable. But her maternity leave package was so amazing, and she was able to take off a year from work, and if she wanted to return to work, she could have. She was an officer, a police officer there.
Awesome.
And so, again, in looking at like our stats, the World Health Organization, which is a leading organization in the world, we have in the top 5 highest for C-sections. And most people are like, oh, what's the big deal? Well, that's major abdominal surgery. And if you're planning for your baby's arrival rather than letting it happen naturally, there's a lot of complications. There's healing that goes on for the mom. And then, of course, there's no support there. So my goal is, you know, if I can work with a mom and reduce her chance of having a C-section or postpartum depression, then I did my job. Right. Even if just giving her awareness of what to do if those things happen.
Yeah. No, and me and my sister both went through C-section, and it wasn't an option. It was, but it was a scary thing. It was a terrifying thing, I'm sure, because everyone wants to give natural birth and stuff, and it's scary, and if it's an unfortunate thing where you have to, at least someone's there supporting you and stuff, because that can be horrifying, and you're terrified just in general, like, and so that's really, really cool.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because me and my brother were both born cesarean, and I was breech, meaning I wasn't in the position to come out the way that maybe nature intended, and so in the past, any baby after that was cesarean as well. You didn't really have a choice.
Right.
And so on this Mother's Day, as you were saying, you know, you don't have any kids, so you don't really have context for that.
Right.
It wasn't until I got pregnant that I even asked my mom about her experience. And so on this Mother's Day, maybe asking your mom her birth story and then telling her thank you for all the hard work that she did. Because labor is laborious.
Oh my goodness.
So, absolutely.
I don't think the movies and stuff could even do it justice.
No.
It looks terrifying.
And I should say, movies are super dramatic. Birth is pretty beautiful. I've never had somebody like punch their spouse or like scream at the top of their lungs.
I don't know. That might be. Maybe because you're there.
Right.
Maybe that's why. But no. And then I also want to kind of talk about. I know this is like a little touchy subject and it's very new, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on this. But the new healthcare bill and stuff that's coming up.
Oh yes.
I just I've only read articles, and so I'm not going to pretend like to know everything. But I mean, it looks like pregnancy and like all these like things that are natural and stuff are being what's it called?
It's called Preexisting
Conditions. And first of all, everyone should be covered no matter what. And so I personally believe, and I disagree with some of the points of Obamacare and stuff, but honestly, right now with what's happening, it's horrifying. And
it's
I think
scary.
We are way better with Obamacare. But we need to figure it out because it's just terrifying what is going on. It's absolutely terrifying. And I can't even believe, and I'm assuming you're probably a little more knowledgeable than I am with what's going on right now. So can you kind of explain like that and what we could possibly do to fix it and stuff, because I can't, it's baffling to me what's going on right now.
Yeah, and you say that you don't know exactly what's going on, but I can imagine that most of the people that are influential, the politicians that are voting for these, they aren't reading that document. I promise you they're not reading it. There's so many other things that they have on their desk. But yeah, pre-existing conditions, and I actually posted about this recently on my Facebook, included a previous history of cesarean section, if you were a survivor of sexual assault.
Yes. Oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that. That's horrifying.
And if I could just give you some stats real quick. So essentially, if you're a woman, you have a pre-existing condition.
Yeah.
Because if we think about postpartum depression, which is a pre-existing condition on this bill, that affects anywhere from 15 to 20% of people.
Wow.
So, okay, you're thinking like 1/5 of women, right? Then you think about the facts that we have, the data that we have for domestic violence and sexual assault. And combined, roughly, and again, depending where you're at and who you talk to, 1 in 4 women.
Yeah.
And if we think about C-sections, that's 1 in 3 births.
Yeah.
So all these people it affects, and whether or not you vote or you pay attention to the law, it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And so what can we do about it? We got to be vocal.
Yeah.
And this generation, my generation, your generation, is so amazing in advocating for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that, we have platforms like social media where, you can tweet and send Facebook messages to people that might hear you.
Yeah.
It might sound old school, but writing letters, calling your politicians.
I called, and I told them to, but it didn't work apparently. But I called, and I felt good, honestly, because I felt like I was actually getting involved in doing something, and you had to put in like your zip code and stuff. But I felt like at least I'm trying, and I think that's a really important thing for people to at least try, even if it does. At least we're trying to do our best, and maybe eventually they will hear us. So.
And sure, we do all these grand scale things.
Yeah.
But there's things we can do every day, right? And it sounds silly, but it's as simple as treating people with respect.
Yeah.
If we treat each other with respect, that becomes the norm. That becomes the status quo. And so, as a woman, I shouldn't be the only person advocating for myself.
Right.
I should have my brothers or men or, for example, we have vulnerable people in this community, and so when I do my advocacy, I make sure that I'm including LGBT persons. Yeah. So as a doula, I say birthing persons, right? As a therapist, I make sure that I respect all my clients, from children to elderly.
Yeah.
And I think when you live that way, you model it for others, and then you evolve from the ground up.
Yeah.
Because sometimes policies don't work in our favors, right? People vote for stuff and we live with it, but it's how we treat each other every day that matters.
No, it's a really important thing, and it is very sad what's going on, but hopefully things, I don't know, it's not completely passed yet. Is that
It's not passed.
So hopefully not. I don't know.
It'll never make it through the Senate.
You don't think so? Because everyone's saying it will.
And even if it does, we have to remember with anything in life, everything is impermanent.
Right.
It's going to change.
Yeah.
And, it challenges us to fight for what we want. It challenges us to think about what's important to us. So if it does pass, we'll have a community of people that bond together to do the best we can. And then in a few years, it'll be different.
Well, what's also sad to me is because domestic violence and rape and stuff are people are going to be afraid to report it and stuff, because then it's automatically a pre-existing condition, and it's just so unbelievable what's going on. It's just unbelievable to me.
Yeah, and people are still afraid to report it, even though it's
exactly. And never mind putting in this
right. And so a lot of the work I do is around making sure that people have equitable, not equal, but equitable access to wellness. And that means making sure they know their rights.
Yeah. And
making sure that the resources they need to get through whatever their challenges are available to them. And so if this bill passes, then I feel it's my responsibility and other community members to go out and have these conversations with populations that don't have access to the resources or don't even know what's going on, right? So you see what you see on social media, but it'd be great if you knew someone who knew what was happening and could tell you.
Yeah, no, it's true. No, it's true for sure. And but I think you're making a huge difference and stuff.
Thank you.
And
I'm trying.
That's all you can do, though.
Right.
You're using all your resources and stuff, and much more than a lot of people would in your position and stuff. So that's really God bless you for that, because that's amazing. You know, that really is amazing what you're doing. So
well, and you know, I really appreciate that. But I feel like when you live your passion, then it's not really work. This is what I feel called to do, and so I couldn't imagine doing anything else because this is so great to me.
Right. Well, even so, though, a lot of people who they are passionate about what you're doing is an amazing career field and stuff. But people in it, some of them, unfortunately, I'm sure, don't really care that much. And that's why you're the first support group. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
You know, I think it also has to do with people's ability to manage time. I know really well-meaning therapists here, but we have a shortage. I mean, if you think about how big Las Vegas is, we have around 800 licensed therapists and around 1,200 interns.
Oh, interesting.
And so it's like 1 to a couple thousand.
Right.
And you can't service the whole community.
Right.
And then you have issues with health insurance.
Yeah.
And so I, again, have friends who take health insurance and haven't been paid in 3 or 4 months. And so a lot of therapists are struggling in that way.
I've heard there's been so many problems with that and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, doctors are getting put out of business and stuff. And you think, like, you go to all that schooling and stuff thinking, like, you're set for life, and now it's not. It's really sad what's happening.
Yeah, especially when you want to give back, and you're like, I still need to pay my bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
If you have to make a living or else you can't do it.
And I think what's unique about Las Vegas is that it's really enticing as a teenager to get recruited into the casinos, you know, as like a valet person will make more than I will ever make.
Yeah, no,
I mean, 70, 100,000 a year, 70,000, 100,000. You could do a lot of the jobs in the industry here for good, easy money, good, quick money, I should say. And it doesn't really bring people to the helping professions or to STEM professions or the professions that we're lacking. So I worked at UNLV, so I have tons of stats for that, but a lot of people leave within the first year because they can afford to. And so when you have people in professions like my own, it is a struggle sometimes to do what you're passionate about and pay your bills.
Right. No, for sure. And now, how do you balance everything out and stuff? Because I like you said, and you also do like a lot of extra things, and you have a beautiful daughter as well, like you were saying.
Thank you.
And so, like, how do you balance everything out? Because you do a lot of activities as well, and like hobbies and stuff. So, like, why don't you talk about all that and balancing it? Because that's crazy to me.
Yeah. So I've always been crazy, I guess. I definitely realized shortly after grad school self-care was really important. When I signed up for that half marathon, again, that's where the little bit of crazy came in. Right. I stay really active, and so I love to go hiking. We have some amazing stuff here as far as like Red Rock, Mount Charleston, Hoover Dam, and it's so close. And so getting into nature is my way of detaching from all the phone calls and the emails and really gathering myself to be full emotionally and physically for the work that I love to do. Right. I do have a daughter, and she just turned 9. Hi, Adriana. And so, you know, simple things like cuddling her or playing in the backyard. We do yoga together. Yeah. So I make time for people that energize me, people that support me and love me, and that I support and love as well, which is crucial. You know, your tribe, as I call it, can be a tribe of 1 or a tribe of 20, but you just want to make sure that they have your back.
Right.
I'm training for a Tough Mudder right now. It's in June in Virginia.
Oh, wow.
It'll be my 4th one, and I'm excited because I'm meeting friends there.
What is a Tough Mudder exactly?
Yeah, so for crazy people. Tough Mudder is 10 to 12 miles, 25 obstacles, including like electrocution at the end.
What?
Yeah, I told you slightly crazy. There's a lot of mud, tough mud, or you know. But I love to do it. Again, I'm all about giving back, and they give back to the Wounded Warrior Project for their charity, and so it's exciting. So, you know, whether I'm in the best shape of my life, they talk about camaraderie, and it's not about finishing at a certain time. It's about helping your fellow mudder. And I'll see, you know, wounded vets, disabled vets, jumping over walls that I'm like, can you give me a boost?
Right, yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah, it's just amazing to watch the human spirit and all that teamwork. I mean, you're in the mud, you don't know these people. Yeah. And they're like, here's a boost up this 20-foot wall. And you're like, thank goodness.
I would need, like, people stacked upon each other together.
And you give some and you get some, you know? Right. So it's definitely a fun, and they do have, like, 5K versions or half mudders, as they call them.
I would need, like, a 5-second version to do.
They have kid ones, too. We could do the kid one,
That's what I could do. I could do that.
But if you ever want to do one here, it's in October, the one here.
Maybe in like 5 years from now. Maybe in 5 years, so we'll see. Yeah,
but yeah, self-care is so important. So I love to cook. I'm vegan. # eat all the vegan things.
Oh, that's okay. I gotta say that's amazing. But I couldn't do it. I think it's so cool, and I wish I could, but I can't do it myself.
You know, I hear that a lot.
It's amazing that you're vegan, so.
I hear that a lot, and you know, it's funny, because if somebody would have asked me, like, 3 months before I stopped eating meat, I would have thought they were crazy, you know. I grew up on Mexican and Italian food. There's meat and cheese everywhere, and it's definitely a lifestyle, and I encourage people, you know, do your research. Go into it gradually. Do what feels right for you. There's no shame. People are like, are you okay that I'm eating meat? And, you know, like, it's your life. I never make a decision for somebody else in any other aspect of my life. So, like, to each their own, and we all can dine together. And there's a saying, be the vegan you wish you would have known before being vegan, which means don't be judgy, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing, too. I know personal friends and stuff that are vegan, and they aren't, like, super, like, and I am respectful, too, and I do ask, because I think that's important, because, you know, it is, it's offensive, and I understand, like, I think it's incredible that you do, but there are some that you're like, why do you have to be so horrible? And that makes people not want to do it even more, so you need to be into, like, I think there needs to be a more gradual thing, especially.
I think, you know, sometimes when we learn something, we get so excited to learn it, we want to share it, and we find a way that feels really good for us, and we want to give it to others. And so, again, I come from a space that I think everybody has best intentions for the most part, and so when I hear people being judgmental about meat eaters' choices, I'm like, well, more than likely you were a meat eater, you know, and no one shamed you into being a vegan. So, again, we all come to our own decisions and our own journeys in time. I didn't know what a vegan was until I went to grad school. Everything happened in grad school.
I think vegans just got super popular recently, which is so cool. But I didn't really know much about. I knew, like, there's vegetarians and stuff. But I never knew, like, about vegans and, like, there's a difference. So it's a cool thing. Yeah,
and I've been vegan for a little over 2 years, and meat-free for 4. So it's a commitment, and my daughter's vegan as well, and that's a challenge. Her having to explain to people, and some people, you know, not being as respectful, like, but bacon, and I'm like, that's not even a joke. Like, if it was funny, I might laugh. But, I think, again, it's about what I was talking about earlier, just having mutual respect for people, and, you know, being kind to whatever people choose to do with their life.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and I think I applaud you for that, because that's really cool. I wish I could. I really do. I
know some really great restaurants in town, so if you ever want to dine, I will gladly take you.
Okay, cool. Yeah. We'll do it. Really I'll try it. I'll try it. Yeah, for sure. Don't know if I'll succeed. Okay, so what advice do you have for people, like, trying to get into your field and stuff, or people who are maybe just contemplating and don't really know, because you're doing amazing things and you have an amazing career path, so I don't think people are as many people as knowledgeable about it and stuff, so what advice do you have for people, or telling to people who might not know everything about it and stuff, what do you have for that?
Yeah, I love this question. I used to work at UNLV, and I'd have students come into my office full of anxiety, like, what do I do with the rest of my life? And, everybody thinks, college is the path for me. College isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Whether that's, barriers to get to college, whether you have other stuff going on, or you just don't want to go.
Yeah.
And so I think the key advice that I could give to young people is do whatever makes you feel right, and do whatever allows you to give back your gift to the world. And so for me, I knew that was helping people, healing, and again, I didn't know anybody who went to college, so I stumbled through college.
Oh,
and
I'm sure, yeah.
I did it super quick.
I'm having problems.
Yeah, I mean, I had a student come in once I got an F, oh my God, I'm never going to graduate. And I'm like, I got 2 Fs in the same math class in the same year, my first year, and look at me now.
Right.
And so, yeah, be kind to yourself, be compassionate, because the journey in itself is what makes it meaningful, how hard you had to work for it, and what you were willing to give and sacrifice for it. So if you're interested in mental health, go to therapy, either for yourself, go talk to therapists. I interned with a psychologist in undergrad, and I knew for sure that's what I wanted to do. For doula work, if you're interested, I'll be willing to have any conversation. There's not a lot of us here, but we're all very open-minded, so if you want to reach out to me, my email address as a doula is KAYMDoula, that's DOULA, so KMDoula, @gmail.com. You can forward me any questions you have. Again, mentorship is super important in that, and that's how I got into it.
So how does the internship actually work? Because I that makes total sense, but I never really even thought of interning and stuff.
So if you're in college, a lot of times your university will give you credit for your job, especially if it's related to your field.
Right.
So I walked into a psychologist's office and I was like, hey, you're right near my school. You're working with people I want to work with. Is there any opportunity to intern under you? And she said, well, actually I need someone to do some billing for me, which now I'm so thankful I have.
Yeah.
And I did court-ordered supervised visitations.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I hung out with families that had been separated due to abuse or violence, and they were being reconnected for visitations that were supervised by me. And so I would document all that happened, and I had conversations with her, and she would give that to the courts. And so it was interesting because I learned so much about the judicial system and families and the office. And, whether it's therapy or another field, I know people like myself always want to give back. We want to mentor the next generation to do the best they can do. And so, at least for me, I'm grateful for my mentors, and I'm here today because those people said, hey.
Well, I think that's it's a really cool thing, but also I'm sure a very intense thing that's kind of what the first thing you were thrown into is doing supervised visits.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine that had to be difficult in some things, and you might want to be like,
yeah.
So that's really cool. And I'm sure that really affected everything, because that was thrown right in there. But that's a cool thing at the same time.
Yeah, and it is intense work. And I think around that same time, I started volunteering with CASA, which is Court-Appointed Supervised Advocates, and that's through Las Vegas. They have it here and other places, where I got to work in a middle school and do drug prevention and a lot of case management. I got to talk to counselors and social workers, and I collected all the information, and it was just really fun because I met a lot of professionals. And so even though the work was really hard in both capacities, the internship and the volunteer, I was able to see how other professionals handled it. And so in turn, I was like, okay, that is difficult. I can talk it out with this person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I think it's so amazing that you are so involved with what you do, and you were so positive you wanted to go into it because you did so much research, and that's such an important thing, because I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I want to do this for sure. And then when you get into it, you're
Absolutely.
like, oh my goodness. Like, since age 4, I wanted to be a neonatal nurse. Like, that's what I wanted to do, no doubt about it. Like, literally since 4 years old, my mom bought me neonatal books, like everything. Like, I was so crazy. Like, that's what I wanted to do. And then I was in high school, and I was put in a biomed program, and I wasn't. I think, like, I also had to deal with, like, the teaching and stuff, but I was just like, oh my, this is not for me at all. Like, I cannot do this, and it was super important, but some people might not even realize that till after college and stuff, and then they're like, oh my gosh, so you researched everything, you really were in there as much as you possibly could be, and you really got a feel for it. So that's a very important thing, and that's how you know that you're passionate about it, because you did do everything beforehand.
And, you know, it's funny because the average student will change their major 3 times before graduation, and I've had people say, you know, I got a degree in this, what do I do with it? And you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. So you have the opportunity to change your mind at any time. And, you know, I wanted to be an art teacher growing up. Yeah. And someone told me I couldn't draw, and, you know, like, oh, broken heart. And then I wanted to be a dancer.
That's horrible.
It really was.
Really sad. Oh
and
my
I can draw. I do draw.
Yes, I'm sure you can. I can't, but, like, I don't want anyone telling me that.
Well, and I actually do art therapy now. So, like, I've incorporated it. And so, like,
you
booyah to you, right? But, yeah, like, we change our minds, and that's okay. And I think there's a lot of pressure on, you know, teenagers to decide what they want to do for the rest of their life. And
yes. Oh, there is.
You don't have to know what you're going to do for the next 60 years.
And
impossible.
I want to tell this to high schoolers, too, because we're middle school. Like, they're always like, wait till you're in college. Wait till you're in college, because if you think this is hard. Like,
how is that motivating?
College. No, it was. And I loved college. It was great. RateMyProfessors.com is the best thing in the entire universe, and I will be an advocate for it. I wish they would sponsor me.
No, unless they have a chili pepper.
Advocate.
Don't trust the chili pepper, because that just means they're
pepper,
hot.
Right. Don't trust.
If they're hot, they might have good ratings.
Right.
No,
but I loved it, and it was really cool. And I mean, was there a difficult part? Absolutely, and. But it was so much better than they were making it, and I mean, now I'm actually getting into the real world and stuff, and it's really cool. And high school, it seems like it's going to be, like, the most important thing, but it's not at all.
No.
Like, I barely even remember high school anymore, and I'm only 19. I've only been out for a year. But it's, like, so insignificant now.
Absolutely.
Like, it's crazy. So, like, everyone puts so much pressure on it and saying, oh, when you get to college, it's going to be horrible and stuff. And, no, it's not. Those aren't the best days of your life necessarily.
No.
And, like, everyone's saying that, but not true at all.
When you go to college, you're usually between, I was 17 when I started, you're between 17, the average age of a freshman at UNLV is 24. Yeah. So we'll say 17 to, like, mid-20s.
Right.
And that's, like, the first time, and maybe the only time in your life, that you get to explore anything and everything, that you get to make mistakes, that you get to decide what you're passionate about rather than what people think you're good at.
Right.
You know? And I encourage people to take that opportunity to do everything they can. Travel, go study abroad, or do things you would never do. And you can't know what you like unless you know what you don't like.
Yeah, no, it's true.
So, yeah, high school... You know, I was really involved in high school, and I thought that was, like, the end-all, be-all, you know? And I could not have predicted being in the position I am today, being an entrepreneur. Like, I always said I'd never go into business for myself, because people said it was so hard.
Yeah.
And, yeah, there's challenges, but
for sure.
You get where you need to be if you follow your path. So.
Well, I think being your own boss has to be, like, the coolest thing ever. No, so I think I don't. It has to be awesome.
When I decided to start my own business, I told some people, and they were like, you're going to work 60 hours a week. And I was like, please. I'm so good. I'm organized. And even no matter how organized you are, there's things that come up that you're like, wow.
Right.
I had no mindfulness around that. And it's definitely a challenge to get to that spot. Yeah. But if you want it bad enough, then you work for it. So.
Oh, and you could tell how passionate you are about everything.
Thank you.
So it's very, very cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much all we have.
Oh, yeah.
So,
can I, like, plug
I
a few
was going to
things?
say, please tell everyone where they can contact you, get a hold of you, if they need a therapist, a doula, anything at all. Please, where can they get a hold of you for everything?
Okay, so let's start with the doula stuff, because we introduced that. If you are looking for postpartum support, the group that I was talking about earlier is located in Henderson, and it's every first and third Monday of the month, every single month. It's free. Dads are welcome. It's LGBT friendly. You can bring your baby if they're little still. Or you can leave them at home too. That's cool too. The group is led by myself, and again, we're sponsored by some county agencies or organizations, and I'm really hoping to get a second group started probably in the next month or two on the east side of town, so I'll have a more accessible location to this half of town.
That'd be very cool.
So if you're interested in that, you can email me again at kmdoula.com. That's KAYMDOULA.com. I also have a website by the same name, www.kmdoula.com. I have a Facebook page, Kaleigh Mancha Doula Services. Should I spell my name or
because there's always been confusion.
Yeah, so Kaleigh, who knows how to spell that? It's Kaleigh, and then last name Mancha, Mancha. Again, doula is Doula. And I post a lot on my Facebook for Doula Services, and a lot of it's advocacy. So if you want to learn how to get involved or different fundraisers, the March of Dimes has a walk this Saturday to raise money. I'll be there too, so you can come meet me. If you're interested in therapy services, you can go on Psychology Today, whether that's with me or somebody else, and you type in an area that you're looking for, or my name, for example, and it'll tell you like how much they charge, where they're located, what kind of work they specialize in. That's psychologytoday.com. And if you have questions just in general, like the whole mentorship thing, I am willing to reach out. So whether that's Facebook or email, I'm available to help as I can.
Very cool. So, I never knew about the Psychology Today thing. That's cool. That's very helpful.
It's a very private way to search for someone that can assist you. And there's pictures, so a lot of people will decide who their therapist is based on how they look, you know?
That's such an important thing that it's true. That's what
cool. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're absolutely incredible, and what you do is amazing, and I hope it becomes a super popular thing, and I hope it becomes part of just a normal thing in America where we can all get a doula and all have a year off, because it just makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like everyone else does, except for Americans.
We're getting there.
hopefully. But with people like you, that's helping. That's amazing. So.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me come on today.
Oh my gosh, of course.
Yeah, I love your show, and I love that you have so many different people on here, because your audience gets to see that, you know, there's different professions and people and personalities, and that's just exciting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, never give up, always believe, and you will achieve. Thank you, and God bless.